Revealed. The sinister, cursed secrets of a haunted Pacific island. A terrifying discovery awaits. Sarah stumbled into the dim-lit hallway of her new home, the floor creaking underfoot like whispers of the past. The air hung heavy over the ramshackle house, chilling her veins, as if something unseen scrutinized her every move. Outside, the wind howled through the twisted trees, branches snapping ominously, sounding like the echoes of tortured souls. She glanced at her children, Max and Lily, their wide eyes reflecting the shadows. Each corner of the room seemed to breathe with an unsettling presence. It was their fresh start, yet dread seeped in with every gust of wind as they settled in. Strange phenomena escalated their unease. At night, the echoes of distant screams splintered the stillness, jagged and haunting. One evening, while tucking Max into bed, she spotted his notebook sprawled open on the floor, filled with wild sketches of dark figures lurking by the shoreline. Those twisted forms, long limbs, and hollow eyes sent shivers crawling up her spine. Had he seen something? She shook her head, dismissing his fears. Just stress from the move, she reassured herself. But deep down, unsettling doubts twisted like the gnarled roots outside. Days passed, yet normalcy felt like a fading memory. Whispers from the townsfolk slinked through her mind. They spoke of the cursed island just off the coast, a place where families had vanished without a trace. Chilled to her core, Sarah rolled her eyes at their superstitions. But the kids were restless, claiming they felt eyes watching them from the shores. Lily shrank behind her mother, clutching her doll tightly, while Max pointed at the trees, whispering about shadows that danced when the moonlight shone just right. "It's just your imagination," she insisted, but her heart raced every time she heard a twig snap outside. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The storm hit unexpectedly one night, dark clouds rolling in like a tidal wave of dread. The house rattled against the furious winds. Rain lashed against the walls, sounding like desperate pounding. Panic surged in Sarah's chest. The kids were nowhere to be found. Adrenaline coursed through her veins as she tore through the rooms, calling their names, voice breaking through the tempest. Max, Lily. Each corner hid shadows that seemed to grin in the darkness, mocking her. Sarah sprinted outside, squinting through the downpour, her heart drumming against her rib cage. The shadows grew bolder. She felt them creeping closer, a cold presence wrapping around her, gripping her throat, squeezing her breath. Uncertainly, she ventured towards the woods, feet slipping in muddy soil, haunted whispers calling from the direction of the forsaken island. Her thoughts swirled. Was this place truly cursed? Had their search for a fresh start led her into a nightmare? As she darted deeper into the woods, she stumbled upon an ancient, gnarled tree, its roots sprawled like fingers reaching for her. It throbbed with a hidden energy, the essence of something lost long ago. A chill shot down her spine when she heard faint cries floating through the air, echoing the warnings she'd brushed aside. It dawned on her the island was calling, demanding a reckoning. But where were her children? The fog thickened, wrapping her in suffocating fear, and she realized with a jolt. Something was awakening on that island, and it hungry for revenge. Had she waited too long to save Max and Lily? The wind screamed through the trees, shoving Sarah deeper into the oppressive darkness. The cries grew louder, echoing off the knotted trunks as if the forest itself was alive, hungry, waiting. Panic surged in her chest, each heartbeat amplified by the terror of being alone. "Max! Lily!" she screamed again, voice cracking under the weight of fear. But only the wind answered, swirling around her like ghostly fingers. Gritting her teeth, Sarah stepped further into the woods, her boots squelching in the mud. Every rustle of leaves sent shards of ice down her spine. The branches overhead twisted into grotesque shapes, as though the trees were reaching for her, eager to pull her into their dark embrace. She felt a cold prickling crawl up her neck, an uncanny sensation of being watched. As she rushed forward, shadows flitted at the edges of her vision. Were the children playing tricks on her mind, or was something else lurking in the shadows? Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet shifted a trapdoor to the unknown. She stumbled back but caught sight of a faint glow radiating from the gnarled tree she had passed earlier. Entranced, Sarah squeezed through the dense brush, torn between dread and desperate hope. What was that light? She needed to know that as she drew closer, she could make out strange symbols carved into the trunk, glowing faintly with a sickly pallor. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Her fingers grazed the markings, sending an electric shock coursing through her. Visions flashed in her mind, images of families, laughter twisted into screams, moments frozen in terror. Among them, she saw a flash of her children's faces, just before everything faded to black. No! Panic surged again, more intense than before. She yanked her hand away as if burned, her heart pounding. Her mind spiraled with questions. What had she unleashed? Why was this tree so significant? Had it been here all along, pulling them into its grasp? A rustling echoed behind her, then a soft, persistent sound like footsteps. Sarah turned sharply, eyes darting through the dark. "Max! Lily!" She cried again, desperation coating her voice. Was that them? Her heart raced, thrumming fiercely as she strained to listen. Then, it came a voice, low and raspy, whispering through the wind. "Mama," it was faint, ghostly, like the breath of the wind carrying a message from the lost. This was no mere illusion. The shadowy forms began to gather, shifting in the darkness, surrounding her. She felt trapped, corners of her vision clothed in movement, shadows reaching out like arms, seeking her warmth, her life. "Get away!" she shouted, brandishing her arms against the menacing shapes. The shadows stopped, coalescing, forming into the outlines she had seen in Max's notebook. Hollow-eyed figures, twisted and longing like prisoners of the island, bound to its realm. Desperate, she pushed forward, willing herself to call her children. "Max! Lily! Where are you?" But her voice trembled, filled with fear and uncertainty. The wind howled frantically, drowning her pleas, as the island grinned in the darkness, relishing her despair. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the veil of shadows. It was unmistakable Max. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear, deep lines etched in confusion. "Mama!" he called, reaching out. But behind him, Lily stood motionless, her doll hanging limply from a clenched fist, expression blank, a gaze fixed beyond Sarah. No! Terrifying thoughts raced through Sarah's mind. What had the island done to them? Was it too late? Could she pull her children back from whatever malevolence had ensnared them? The forest deepened, swallowing her screams as the shadows encroached closer. The glow from the tree flickered, and a sinister laugh echoed beyond the trees, a promise of what awaited her if she couldn't break the curse. Gripping her heart, Sarah knew she had one chance to save them. But as she dove into the swirling fog of the unknown, a question pulsed through her. Would the children return with her, or would they remain forever lost? Another secret claimed by the island's depths. Sarah's heart thudded painfully against her ribcage as she strained to reach Max's shadows coiled tighter around her, flickering like candles in a storm. She could barely see his face, but she felt the inconsolable ache of desperation reflecting back at her through his wide, frightened eyes. "Please, Max, come to me." She reached out, her fingers trembling in the cold air. But with every step she took, the shadows shifted, blocking her path, and the forest closed in. It was as if the trees were conspiring against her, their long limbs bending and twisting, whispering dark secrets only they could understand. Lily remained still, her gaze locked onto something unseen. "Lily, sweetie, look at me." Sarah's voice strained, desperation clawing at her throat. But Lily didn't blink. Her doll dangled like a forgotten relic, trapped in a childish grasp but devoid of innocence. The woods echoed with the voices of what once was. Muffled laughter twisted into sorrowful wails, the long-forgotten cries of children lost to the island's grasp. A chill wind howled, bringing with it the scent of damp earth and decay, and with it, visions flashed that turned Sarah's blood cold. Moments of laughter exchanged between families, quickly morphing into anguish. Was this their fate? Max! She called again, the panic surging back into her veins, burning like fire. But the way her son flinched made her heart drop. Was he hearing the cries too? The same looming dread cloaked in shadows? Suddenly, a shape darted behind Max. Just a flicker at first. Could it be another child, trapped like her son? Or was it something far worse? She couldn't let the darkness take them. Forcing her way through the press of dread and ghastly whispers, an energy surged within her. "Stay back," Sarah shouted, desperation clouding her vision. Max finally stepped closer, hands trembling as he stretched toward her. "Mama!" He reaching for her warmth. But behind him, the figures rallied, hollow-eyed forms emerging from the depths with malicious intent, growing stronger, emboldened by her hesitation. "Get away from him!" The roar of both her fear and her own resolve burst forth in a primal scream that shattered the surrounding darkness. The shadows reeled, but only briefly. The air thickened, the oppressive weight of dread pushing against her. Then, beneath their feet, the ground trembled. The gnarled roots of the ancient tree began to writhe, thrashing like serpents. The glow from the symbols pulsed wildly, illuminating the chaotic scene with a sickly sheen. Sarah knew she had to make a choice. It was now or never. In one swift motion, she lunged forward, gripping Max's hand with her own, desperate to free him from the island's grip. The moment their fingers touched, a jolt surged between them, and she felt another presence, cold and sinister, wrapping itself around her spine. "Lily, come," she cried, trembling. But the girl stood frozen, caught in a web of shadows that spiraled from the darkness like a living nightmare. Sarah's heart sank. "Not you too, Lily." But her pleas fell flat, devoured by the whispers swirling around them. The figures howled, hungry for the warmth they had lost. Instinct kicked in, igniting courage in Sarah's heart. She would fight for her children. With her pulse racing, she turned back toward the ghastly tree, aching for its guidance. "Show me the way," she shouted, her voice raw. The symbols flared, and a blinding light burst forth, illuminating the hidden depths of the forest. But then, the shadows coalesced, and another figure appeared. A woman, gaunt and wretched, stepped from their throng, her eyes gleaming with unfathomable hunger. "You can't save them," she hissed, the hellish chorus rising in a unison of shrieks. Terror washed over Sarah. Was there truly no escape? Each breath became a desperate gasp as her world narrowed into focus. She had to break free. She had to pull them from this tragedy. But as she turned back to her children, something pulled at the edges of her thoughts. A realization, a haunting truth flickered with a sickening dread. What if saving one meant losing the other? The branches twisted to lock Sarah in place, the realization tightening around her heart like a vice. She stood trembling as they closed in, shadows beckoning her to surrender. As the forest loomed, ready to claim its bounty, the question gnawed at her. Would the darkness take all she loved or leave her with a single, painful choice? "Sarah, we have to go," Max screamed, the terror in his voice slicing through the maelstrom around them. His small hand gripped hers, but the shadows pulsed with threat, hungry and restless. They demanded attention, clawing at Sarah, dragging her back toward the creeping darkness. With fierce determination, Sarah pulled Max closer. "Hold on tight," she urged. She had to break the spell, the dreadful pull of despair that seemed to wrap around them like a mist. But despite her strength, the shadows were relentless, surging forward with a life of their own, ravenous for innocence. "Lily!" Sarah turned frantically, her heart shredding as she saw her daughter, still trapped in a standstill, the doll hanging limply like a forgotten toy. "Please, you don't have to stay there." The girl remained motionless, eyes wide and reflective, eerily staring deep into the unseen. The air grew thicker, and with each passing second, it felt like the world around them was breathing hostile and alive. Lily. Despair clawed at Sarah's throat like a wild animal, ready to devour her. She could see the shadows licking at the edges of her daughter's small frame, trying to pull her into their cold embrace. Sarah took a step back, the grounding soil beneath her shuddering as the ground crumbled into an abyss. No, not you too. The woman lurking behind Mac's darkness personified shimmered ominously, a grin twisting her lips. Join us, sweet child, she cooed, seductive and terrible. But the inviting whispers morphed into harsh shrieks, rattling Sarah's soul. The cries of the lost echoed louder, threatening to drown any hope left in her heart. With desperation boiling inside, Sarah realized it was now or never. Max, stay close, she warned, her voice teetering on the edge of command and fear. Tearing her attention from Lily, she braced herself against the tide of shadows rushing forth, determination igniting her every nerve. Suddenly, the symbols embedded in the tree pulsed with urgency. Sarah felt their power surge, as if the forest had recognized the battle brewing within her. Get away from my kids, she howled, her shout merging with the fury of the wind as the shadows recoiled. A freak gust whipped through the trees, scattering the haze. The light enveloping the area shimmered, revealing fleeting images of children long lost, their faces twisted in anguish as if they knew their souls were trapped forever. Mom! Max cried, pulling her back to focus, and together they took a step forward. It was only a step, but it felt like a leap into the burning fire of despair that threatened to consume them. Lily, snap out of it, Sarah commanded, her voice breaking. She dove deeper into the whirlwind of shadows, grasping at the tendrils wrapped tightly around Lily's small frame. The forest let out a groan, branches quaking in response, as if stirred from stale slumber. The moment was electric. Yet when she finally reached her daughter, Sarah felt the chilling grip of shadow tearing at her heart. She grasped Lily's wrist, pulling fiercely, but the force of the lurking darkness resisted. Let her go. She is not yours. Sarah felt her voice pierce the surrounding chaos, reverberating between the trees. But the shadows tightened their hold. They hissed in unison, a monstrous response that seemed to mock her bravery. And through it all, the truth pulled at Sarah again. What if the shadows had chosen already? Please, she whispered, desperation layering each word, as fear wrapped tight, squeezing her chest. Time hung like a heavy weight as she felt the shadows consume her senses. A shriek erupted from Lily, a sound so primal it shook Sarah to her core. It was clarity, a burst of light in the darkness, drawing her back as her daughter began to break free from the captivity of shadows. But at that moment, a slithering darkness slid from the branches towards Sarah, coiling around her legs, anchoring her as her focus shifted. Panic surged through her veins. Max! She cried, the echo swallowing her voice. The island itself seemed to tremble, the trees bending with an unholy desire. With every ounce of strength left, Sarah fought against the shadows, but reality flickered. In the pit of her stomach, she knew. Sacrifice lurked in the air, and each second pulled them further into hell. What would be left of them if she couldn't break this curse? As the ground cracked beneath her, the chilling truth resonated. Darkness wouldn't just take one child, it would want them all. And in that bitter moment of clarity, something primal uncoiled inside her, a call to her true strength. Would her love ignite against the coming storm, or would it extinguish under the suffocating weight of shadows seeking to claim their prize? The choice lingered, terrifying and undeniable, as the darkness drew nearer, whispering promises of doom. The moment hung thick in the air. Sarah's heart pounded a drum of dread as the shadows writhed closer, their hungry shapes undulating like serpents in the night. She felt the icy tendrils constrict around her legs, and the sensation sent a cold shiver rippling up her spine. Lily! She screamed again, desperation tinging her voice. Her daughter's vacant stare thawed just slightly, a flicker of recognition crossing her delicate features. Mom? Lily's voice trembled, echoing through the oppressive darkness as if the shadows themselves recoiled at the purity held within those words. "Grab my hand. I'm right here," Sarah urged, her own fear morphing into a fierce determination. She yanked on Lily's wrist, pulling with every ounce of desperation. But the shadows would not let go without a fight. They shrieked, a cacophony of anguish and rage, puncturing the air as if the very forest was screaming. Wisps of darkness clawed at Sarah's arms, drawing closer, pinching her skin with their icy grip. Max tugged at her side, his small body shaking like a leaf in a storm. "Mom, it's too strong," he whimpered, gazing up at her with wide, fearful eyes. "No, we can't give in." Her voice grew unsteady, the weight of despair threatening to pull her beneath waves of darkness. The shadows seemed to whisper into her ear, seductive secrets about surrendering, as they slithered over her arms and coiled around her heart. Suddenly, a chilling gurgle rose from the depths of the abyss. Sarah felt the ground tremble beneath her, roots twisting and wrenching as if they were alive. "Not here. Not now," she shouted defiantly. Max clutched at her waist, and she could feel his fear mingling with hers, a sweet concoction with a deadly effect. Yet uncowed, Sarah turned back to Lily, who was now visibly struggling against the unseen weight, pulling her deeper into the shadows. "Fight it. You're stronger than this," Sarah cried, her own voice a beacon cutting through the darkness. And, somehow, Lily's expression shifted. It was a jolt like electricity sparked between mother and daughter. "Mom, I can't see you," she gasped, her words pierced by a sudden realization, quicker than the shadows could act. The forest echoed as if acknowledging Lily's plea, thrumming with energy. The symbols carved onto the trees flared with iridescent light, illuminating the surrounding gloom as if the very forest itself was coming to life, answering a call from the depths. Yet, the dark woman's laugh broke that fragile hope, mocking with a ghastly timbre that sent chills racing down Sarah's spine. "They won't listen to a fool's cry. The shadows are chosen destined to consume, and in their hunger, they have found you at last." Sarah felt her resolve waver, the words a heavy weight pressing down. But she refused to let despair anchor her. "Lily, take my hand. Trust me. Trust us." With that, Lily's eyes snapped back towards her mother's voice. The bond between them ignited, warm and fierce, a light against the encroaching dark. But as the shadows skirmished, Sarah sensed another presence and ache. A gnawing emptiness nestled deep within her heart. Suddenly, from the depths of the shadows, a horrific face materialized, twisted, gaunt, and utterly devoid of human warmth. It lunged forward, cracking the air with sinister laughter. "Join us, forever in the dark," it hissed, a plea that felt both seductive and grotesque. All at once, the ground beneath her swelled, spiraling into an opening as if yawning wide to swallow every hope. Sarah dug her feet in, unwilling to be drawn in. But behind her, she felt the pull of the abyss intensify, threatening to wrench her free will away. "Sarah." Max's panicked voice jolted her focus. The air shimmered with the desperation of countless lost souls. She felt herself slipping, the darkness calling her name. "Together, we're stronger together," Sarah cried, the plea vibrating through her. As the shadows lunged hungrily, covering her in their cold embrace, there was one thought that solidified in her mind. They would either stand united or be devoured alone. Could they overcome the shadows closing in, or would they succumb to the void, joining the legion of despair? As icy fingers clawed at her heart, the question loomed. What was she willing to sacrifice to save them? In that fateful moment, everything hung on the brink. The shadows pressed in tighter, a suffocating shroud that seemed to breathe and pulse with an ancient, malevolent energy. Sarah's heart raced as the cold penetrated her very bones. She felt Lily slipping from her grip, just mere inches away, but the shadows toyed with that distance, stretching it like an elastic band ready to snap. "Mom, please," Lily's voice, laced with panic, sliced through the oppressive air. The strength of their bond shone brightly in that moment, a beacon among the darkness. Hold on. I want to let you go. Sarah shouted, her voice cracking but firm. She pulled harder, channeling every ounce of resolve. The pain in her arms a mere distraction from the terror clawing at her sanity. The dark woman loomed before them, her form flickering like a flame on the verge of extinction. You think you can fight us? She shrieked, her voice a whirlwind of torment and malice. You have no idea what's coming. Behind Sarah, Max's small, trembling frame staggered back, his wide eyes mirroring the horror. Mom, we're going to die. Don't say that. Sarah gritted her teeth, willing her children to focus, to remember the love that had seen them through so much. Stay with me. But a chilling laugh danced in the air, wrapping around her like a serpent. The shadows were winning their whispers, filling her head with dread, their grip tightening as if sensing victory. With focus wavering, Sarah closed her eyes, inhaling the sweet scent of her children, clinging to the memory of laughter, warmth, and light. Listen to me, she roared, a wild surge of defiance fueling her words. We are more than just flesh and bone. We are love. We are family. The ground rumbled beneath her feet, shaking the very roots of the forest. For an instant, she felt a ripple that broke through the darkness, allowing a glimpse of ethereal light filtering through the shadows. The air thickened with anticipation. Lily's eyes widened, searching for Sarah's face in the chaos. Mom, I can see you. Grab my hand. As if in response, the shadows shrieked, a sound like nails on a chalkboard, infuriated and desperate. Sarah lunged forward and felt a spark ignite as their fingertips grazed. In that moment, a jolt surged between them, both exhilarating and terrifying, igniting the air like a thunderclap. But was it enough? The wailing ramped up, summoning dark figures skirting the edges of her vision. Each face twisted and distorted, specters placing a haunting hand on her shoulder, drawing closer. Give up, they sang in grotesque harmony. Join us. Never, she screamed, grounding herself in the thrum of her children's presence. With renewed determination, Sarah focused on the luminous symbols etched in the trees, the ethereal glow pulsating with a life of its own. I know you're in there. Come on. A blinding light surged upward, illuminating the ancient sigils, illuminating them with a warmth that countered the engulfing shadows. The beings surrounding her recoiled, lost souls confused by a flicker of hope. But the dark woman hissed, You think you can? Sarah wasn't allowing any more of those words to settle in her mind. Together, now, locked in a fierce standoff, she felt the connection with her children grow stronger, their hands warming, pushing against the icy chains of despair. The light brightened, a furious sun igniting amidst the shadows, but the resistance was relentless. Max's little voice broke through the chaos. I believe in us, Mommy. With that handful of faith, all three surged forward together. The shadows surged, the abyss answered, but so did the shimmering light. In that infinite moment of choice, a crack appeared. And then everything shifted. The ground beneath her feet, the horrid voices surrounding them, it all began to tremble, reverberations of fear and anger swirling together like a cyclone. Sarah gasped, What is happening? But just as she dared to hope, the chilling laughter of the dark woman echoed through the forest, sending shards of ice down her spine. You can't outrun your fate. A blinding flash erupted, ripping through the atmosphere, meeting the shadows head-on. She shielded her eyes, and then, in a blink, the world twisted violently. Suddenly, all fell silent. Where are we? Max whispered, confusion etching every feature of his small face. Lily stood beside him, eyes darting around the newfound emptiness. Mom, the air hummed with an unspoken tension, and the shadows melted like mist under sunlight, their promise lingering like a whispered threat. Sarah took a step, heart pounding, realizing the forest had changed. It was different, darker, and something lurked just beyond the veil. In that deepening silence, beneath the blanket of an unnatural night, a chilling dread wound through the air again. Are we safe? Max asked, fear creeping into his voice. I don't know. And against the weight of that unknown, the night only grew darker. A palpable thing that breathed, as if waiting for its moment to strike. But she knew one thing for certain. In this eerie stillness, the real horror was still yet to come. The silence pressed against Sarah like a heavy blanket, thick and oppressive. She squinted into the dark, unsure of what lay before them. Each heartbeat echoed loudly in her ears, drowning out any sounds that might indicate safety. Golden memories of laughter and sunshine flickered in her mind, but each joyful image wilted under the weight of their present reality. "Where are we?" Lily's voice trembled. The fear in her tones sliced through the suffocating quiet. Max was still by her side, shivering, his little fingers digging into Sarah's arm. The night felt alive, throbbing with an unidentifiable energy, pulsing as if waiting for something waiting for them. "I don't know," Sarah said, forcing strength into her voice. "But we need to keep moving." As she stepped forward, the ground felt unnaturally soft, like disturbed earth ready to swallow them whole. A low, ominous whisper floated through the air, wrapping around her like shadowy arms. It was a sound that chilled her to the bone, hissing names that twisted through her thoughts. "Mom, do you hear that?" Max's voice barely broke the haunting silence. "It's the wind," she said, but panic clawed at her gut. It was not the wind. It was something else, something lurking just beyond their line of sight. "Keep close," Sarah ordered, gripping their hands tighter. The forest stretched out around them, ancient trees arching over like gnarled fingers, creating twisted passages that led deeper into darkness. What was this place? Each step sent shadows sliding away as if they were alive, the specters reshuffling in the corners of her vision. She fought the urge to look back, to feel the comforting solidity of the world she once knew. Everything around her felt like a nightmare reality twisted into a terrifying dream. The air thickened, and Sarah could taste the bitter tang of fear on her tongue. "Let us just find a way out," she muttered, her breath shallow. They stumbled through the chaos, dead leaves crackling beneath their feet, echoing like muffled screams as they moved. Something flickered just ahead, a fleeting glimpse of light against the heavy darkness. Hope ignited in Sarah's chest, but the shadows sneered, tightening around her. It wasn't tea light, it was a trap. She felt a chill seep down her spine. "Don't look at it," she warned. "We have to," Lily cried, her eyes wide with a blend of terror and curiosity. "No. Whatever it is, it wants to lure us in." Before they could go further, a piercing scream shattered the night. It pierced the air like a jagged knife, striking fear into the deepest parts of Sarah's soul. It was a wail of anguish, a sound that clamored for their attention and twisted the very fabric of reality around them. "Run," she urged, but it was too late. The wailing transformed into laughter, cruel and inviting, echoing from all sides. "Join us," a voice, soft and silky, called from the shadows. Sarah's heart raced, dread curling her stomach like a fist. "No, we're not joining you." But her conviction faltered against the overwhelming allure of the darkness. It promised secrets, kept for centuries, wisdom interwoven with horror, a desperation anchored in survival. Was there truth within the shadows, or mere lies designed to lure her deeper? "Mom," Max whimpered, a raw edge slicing through his voice. They were losing ground against terror. The shadows thickened, closing in like a swarm of hungry insects. "We can't give in," she shouted, willing her own fear to recede. "Stay close." Suddenly the world shuddered. The ground beneath them shifted, sending Sarah reeling. Her grip on Max tightened as she fought to regain her balance. The shadows twisted and swirled like smoke, threatening to consume them. With a sudden clarity, she recognized their need for direction. She turned toward the light again, drawing her children close. Whatever awaited them, it didn't matter. They had to push through. But as they advanced, the laughter grew louder, resonating with an unnerving cadence. It wrapped around their arms, entwined their hearts. "Trust us," it whispered. "We can give you everything you seek." "What do we do?" Lily cried, confusion etched across her face. "Trust our love," Sarah shouted, pulling her children to her. "We can't let them break us." The shadows recoiled momentarily but then surged forward, their darkness more insistent. Light flickered like a candle in the wind, barely holding on. What if they weren't strong enough? What if they couldn't fight this? Doubt slipped in. But then something transformed in the air, a friction between hope and despair, as if the world itself held its breath. "Mom!" Max's voice trembled. "Keep your eyes on me." With every ounce of her being, she took a bold step forward. What awaited them was unknown, but no barrier would keep her from her children. As they moved deeper, the shadows hissed their fate. "Join us," and at that ominous moment, Sarah realized that the horrors she would face now were just the beginning. The darkness was only waiting for her answer, hungry for the choice that lay ahead. What awaited them in the heart of the night? The air crackled with tension as they pressed forward. Each step felt like a descent into madness, the shadows twisting and curling around them, whispering sweetly into their ears dark promises of what they could gain. Sarah led her children, their desperate breaths mingling as they moved deeper into the uncharted gloom. "What if it's just a bad dream?" Lily whispered, her voice small against the oppressive silence. "Dreams don't feel this real," Sarah replied, tightening her grip on Max. His hand felt damp against hers, clammy with fear. A rustle in the underbrush made Sarah stop. Her heart thudded loud enough to drown out the laughter that echoed in the distance. She scanned the trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers beckoning her closer. "We can't stop. We can't," she murmured. In the flickering light ahead, a figure seemed to shimmer, almost like a reflection just out of reach. It was a woman, pale as the moon, her hair a tangled mass that moved as if in a breeze that didn't exist. Sarah felt her resolve waver. "Mom, don't look," Max shouted, as if sensing the danger before she could even process it. But the woman smiled. "Come closer, child. I am here to help you." It was the kind of voice that slithered into your mind, planting seeds of doubt. Sarah's breath quickened, a primal instinct urging her to flee. Panic gripped her as the light flickered again, revealing the anguish etched into the woman's face. "Help?" she echoed, incredulous. "You want to help us?" The woman nodded, her eyes reflecting a sorrow that felt all too familiar. "You came searching for answers. I can give you what you desire. Just step into the light." "No," Sarah shouted, clutching her children tighter. With that refusal, the woman's expression morphed, the sorrow turning to fury, veins of darkness pulsating around her. "You think you can escape your fate? It's already been chosen." The laughter returned, malevolent and joyous, echoing from every direction. "Run!" Sarah screamed, and they turned, the forest swallowing their cries as they dashed away from the unstable light and the figure that had promised salvation. The shadows twisted, becoming solid like an impenetrable wall behind them, pushing them further into the abyss. Leaves crunched beneath their feet, the echoes amplifying their fear. They twisted and turned, desperately searching for a path, but the forest seemed to shift, disorienting them. Glimpses of movement darted between the trees, shadows that lunged and vanished, leaving only an unsettling stillness in their wake. "Mom!" Max gasped, stumbling over a root. Sarah caught him, her own heart pounding against her ribcage, threatening to break free. "We can't keep running. We're going in circles." "Then we need to find the source," Sarah replied, desperation fueling her movements. "We need to break whatever hold this place has." As they pressed deeper, a faint glow appeared in the distance, brushing the edges of her vision. It flickered and pulsed, a beacon fighting the darkness, maybe a way out, or perhaps something more sinister. But the laughter grew louder, taunting them with every step toward the light. "Mom, let us go back," Lily cried, pulling at her sleeve. "No, we can't give in to fear." Sarah's voice was fierce, even as a chill wrapped around her throat, squeezing tighter, but doubt gnawed at her resolve. Were they running toward salvation, or deeper into despair? As they approached the glow, confusion crept in, thickening the air like smoke. Suddenly, silence fell. The laughter ceased, replaced by a heavy, excruciating stillness that threatened to engulf them whole. The light flickered again, and in that fleeting moment, something shifted. In that eerie calm, Sarah felt an icy hand slide down her back, a whisper brushing her ear. You should have joined us. What awaited them beyond the light? The very thought paralyzed her, and Sarah swallowed hard. But before she could turn back, the ground trembled, pulling her footing from beneath. The darkness below seemed to breathe, yearning for their surrender. As panic set in, they were engulfed by a growing whirlwind of shadows and lost hopes. Just ahead, the light pulsed rhythmically, its allure drawing them closer. But what kinship with darkness would they have to offer? Are we close, Mom? Max's voice broke through the chaos. The answer danced on the tip of her tongue, but fear rooted her in place. Was the path ahead salvation or another trap waiting to snare them? Would they have the strength to survive the choice that lay before them? Or would they become part of the whispers in the shadows forever? The flickering glow shimmered like a mirage, both inviting and foreboding. Sarah pushed forward, her instincts screaming at her to turn back. She could feel the weight of darkness closing in, clawing at her from every direction. The shadows twisted, writhing as if sentient, eager to consume them. Stay close, she yelled, pulling Max and Lily tighter to her side. Their frightened faces reflected the chaos around them. As they stumbled closer to the light, Sarah's heart raced wildly, caught between hope and despair. The glowing orb pulsated rhythmically, a siren-esque call woven into the chaotic whispers. It felt alive, throbbing with a hidden energy that held the promise of escape or doom. The shadows danced, and the whispers grew louder, each word a sharp dagger to her resolve. Join us, become one with the night. No, Sarah shouted, gripping her children tighter. We don't belong to you. But even as she yelled, she felt doubt creeping in, snaking its way through her thoughts. They pressed on, the ground shifting beneath them, as if the earth itself wanted to swallow them whole. Almost there, Sarah exclaimed, her voice trembling despite her attempts at reassurance. But the light that had once seemed like salvation now morphed into a twisted, hypnotic glow. With every step, the darkness felt more familiar, as if it recognized them. Lily's cries pierced the air, breaking through the haze of something ancient and dreadfully hungry. Mom, I don't want to go near it. The glow fizzled, as though uncertain, revealing shapes moving just beyond the illumination. Faces warped with agony and laughter rose like spirits from the earth, eyes gleaming with a savagery that chilled Sarah to the bone. Look away, she screamed, dragging her children in the opposite direction. Yet the shadows reached. Tendrils of darkness curled around Max, tugging him back toward the flickering light with an urgency that left Sarah gasping. Mom, help me! His voice cracked, swallowed by the looming terror. Clenching her fists, Sarah fought against the pull of the shadows, digging her feet into the damp earth. I'm coming. Hold on. In a burst of adrenaline, she yanked Max free, only to be confronted by the pale woman from before, now closer, a twisted smile splitting her face. So much fear, so much potential. You're not real, Sarah shouted, though doubt shook her voice. Am I not? The woman stepped forward, gliding, her presence filling the air with a suffocating dread. You all came searching for truths. Isn't it time to stop running? As if in answer, the light flickered violently, and shadows writhed with a hunger that went beyond hunger. They craved despair, feeding off their fear, their anguish. Behind the glowing figure were silhouettes waiting, specters of the lost reaching for her children. Don't look at them. Keep your eyes on me. Sarah's voice pierced the air, desperate. Lily trembled, tears spilling down her cheeks, as she stared at the twisted faces whispering her name. Mom, I want to go home, but this wasn't home. It was a nightmare wrapped in the darkness of stolen souls. And with each second, the shadows pressed closer, their whispers growing into a cacophony of despair, beckoning her, enticing her to join them. Make a choice, Sarah, the woman taunted, her voice echoing through the maze of shadows. Will you let your children embrace what they truly are? Or will you deny their fate? Suddenly, the earth rumbled violently beneath them, a deep growl that shook Sarah's core. The shadows lunged at her, a wave of darkness, each face a reminder of their impending doom. Would she succumb to the darkness, or would she banish it forever? Mom, make a choice. Max's scream sliced through her resolve, as if he understood the depths of their impending fate without knowing the reality they faced. Sarah's breath hitched as the shadows danced, a tide rising, relentless. She must decide. But what is choice when the very fabric of salvation is entwined with damnation? As she felt the cold grip of despair pulling her slowly into the depths, a shattering realization struck her. What if they'd been drawn here for a reason? What if the whispers held the key to a truth that could save them all? A huge burst of energy radiated around them, and shadows recoiled, leaving behind a figure misty and laced with soft light, beckoning her with a familiar warmth. Take my hand. Was this a path toward salvation, or was it yet another trap? The light pulsed, vibrant and warm, cutting through the cold grip of despair surrounding Sarah and her children. Mom, what is that? Max's voice trembled as he pointed. Their eyes, wide and filled with fear, focused on the emerging figure, a glimmer of hope etched in familiarity. I think it's someone who can help us. We have to trust. With a fierce determination, Sarah took a step toward the light, but shadows writhed about her ankles like snapping jaws, eager to reclaim their prey. Stay close, she urged, pulling Lily and Max against her side. The sinister laughter grew louder, but Sarah couldn't let it drown out the truth. The whispers of darkness were desperate. They were losing control. As she moved closer to the glowing figure, memories flooded her mind, fragments of laughter, warmth, and family dinners shared under twinkling lights. The people she loved were no longer mere shadows drifting through her thoughts, but vivid reminders of her purpose. That light represented everything she had fought for. You need to help us, she shouted into the night, her voice raw with purpose. Come forth, Sarah, said the figure, gliding closer, and for a fleeting moment, she realized it was her mother, lost to the world, yet shimmering with energy, radiant in the darkness. Believe. Together you can break the island's curse. The shadows recoiled at the sight of her mother, the raw energy radiating from her, threatening to unravel their grip. You don't know what you're doing, came the voice of the dark woman, irritation twisting her features. You cannot defy what is destined. Get back, Sarah cried, embracing her children tighter. This ends now. The light swelled with her conviction, a torrent of warmth that washed over them, all three vibrating with a fierce, shared energy. They answered the shadow's challenge, unwilling to succumb to despair. Together, they formed a barrier, a shield of love and hope against the darkness pressing in on them. Hold hands, Sarah urged, her heart pounding like thunder in her ears. She could feel the shadows reaching, hungry claws scraping against her skin. But as they centered their focused light encasing them, the air crackled with electricity. Now, at that moment, they connected. The energy surged from Sarah, through Max and Lily, a beautiful light coiling through their hearts, illuminating the gloom. The laughter faltered, replaced by cries of anguish. The figures surrounding them faltered, fear gripping their hollow hearts. Fight back, Sarah shouted, feeling her mother's spirit guiding them through the dark. Break the curse. Their combined will surged forth, ricocheting against the shadows as Sarah thought of every laugh, every embrace, every moment spent as a family. The ethereal glow expanded, pushing against the darkness, unraveling its hold. No, you cannot, the dark woman shrieked as nails clawed at the air, trying to reach their warmth. As the glow intensified, shadows began to shriek, unraveling, dissolving one by one. Max's eyes glistened with tears of courage and disbelief as they fought back, fueled by their collective strength. Suddenly, a crack echoed through the cavern of night, seams appearing in the fabric of darkness. With a final scream of rage, the dark woman shattered into vapor, dispersed into the unseen, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the oppressive weight lifted. What happened? Lily whispered, trembling, yet hopeful. You did it. We did it, Sarah replied, holding her children closer, their warmth igniting her spirit. But peace had not yet claimed the island completely. Beneath them the ground shifted. The gnarled, ancient trees began to twist, creaking ominously. What's happening? Max asked, eyes wide. The island is waking. It needs to release its hold for good. Sarah pressed, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around them. We must leave now. Among the uproar, a path opened, an inviting light brought forth by the sun beginning to rise in the distance. It threaded through the darkness that still seeped into the edges of their vision, revealing the path. Forward. Come on, Sarah shouted, pushing them forward, each step infused with purpose, urgency fueling her bones. They maneuvered between the trees, now fearful and fading. Each step towards the light felt like cutting through heavy fog as they emerged from the darkness. The sun broke free, spilling golden warmth across the sky, a rebirth marked by the dawn. They stumbled out of the trees onto the sandy beach. The horizon was ablaze with hues of orange and gold, the island now peaceful, as if a weight had been lifted from its spirit, breathless. Sarah fell to her knees, clutching Max and Lily to her chest. We are safe, she murmured, tears cascading down her face. They won. Come back, right? Max whispered, searching her gaze. No, Sarah promised, cradling them against her. They've been defeated, we broke the curse. They looked out toward the water, a glistening expanse that shimmered in the sunlight, so different from the dark visions that had infiltrated their minds. For the first time, they felt the warmth of freedom, their shackles unraveled. Both children nodded, hope flickering back to life. We did it, Mom, they chorused, laughter bubbling forth as they splashed into the cool waves. Together, always, Sarah smiled, grateful tears falling freely, her heart overflowing with love as they embraced this new beginning. As the island faded behind them, Sarah held tightly to the profound change that had taken place. They had faced the darkness, fought the shadows, and reclaimed their lives. Let us go home, she whispered, steering them towards the shore. And as they turned toward the new horizon, she knew they would carry the light within them, forever intertwined, one heart, one family, unyielding in the face of darkness. But please remember, dear reader, this is not just a story. This eerie tale resonates with truths that echo in our lives. So, if you want to continue this journey with us, you need to subscribe now. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure more stories like this reach eager ears. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us discuss. And finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support matters, and only true fans will understand the importance of these actions. Embrace the light,